When was the last time you traveled? And no, I don't mean scrolling through Instagram at midnight and deciding you've basically seen Santorini. I mean real travel. The kind where your suitcase weighs more on the way back, your sleep cycle is completely confused, and you're emotionally attached to a cafe you visited exactly once. Now, let's be honest. At some point, travel starts to feel less like a dream and more like a full-body workout. There's the packing, the unpacking, the repacking because you forgot your charger, the airport queues that feel longer than the flight itself. And don't even get me started on trying to open those tiny butter packets at 35,000 feet. And yet, here's the strange thing. That itch to explore, it doesn't retire, it doesn't slow down. If anything, it gets stronger. Because deep down, we're all wired for curiosity, for discovery, for that little spark that says, what's out there? So what if I told you could travel without jet lag, without packing, and without fighting over overhead luggage space? What if your next journey didn't need a boarding pass, just a comfortable chair and a willing imagination? Welcome to the Wanderlust Lens podcast with Nick and Darla, where we prove that the most powerful passport you'll ever own is the one inside your mind. And trust me, today, we're going places.
What if I told you that you could literally lower your blood pressure, completely alter your brainwaves, and build a genuine lifelong memory of a trip to some tiny coastal village in Spain without ever actually getting up from the chair you're sitting in right now?
I mean, it sounds like science fiction, right? Or just completely false advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
But the stack of research we're going through today proves that it's actually entirely possible. It really just comes down to how easily our neurological hardware can be convinced of a reality that we construct for it.
Which is honestly incredible news.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, let's just be real about actual travel for a second.
All the hassle of it.
Right. We all have that itch to explore the world, but satisfying that itch physically is just, it's exhausting. You're lugging around 30 pounds of luggage, you're stuck in those infinite airport security lines, your circadian rhythm gets completely destroyed.
Yeah, you spend half the trip just recovering from the stress of simply getting there.
Yeah.
The friction of physical travel is just immense. And, for a lot of people out there, that friction isn't just an annoyance, it's a literal barrier.
Exactly. So, for our mission today in this deep dive, we are jumping into the science of armchair travel. And I want to set the record straight right off the bat for everyone listening.
You have to clarify this.
Yes, because we are not talking about, slouching on your couch, half watching a travel documentary while you scroll on your phone.
No, not at all.
The source material we have today details how intentional imagination, when you combine it with very specific sensory inputs, it acts as a literal neurological biohack.
Yeah, it's this fascinating intersection of neuroscience, sensory design, and accessibility. You can actually recreate the physical and mental benefits of a big globe-trotting adventure without ever needing a boarding pass.
I am so fully invested in this. I mean, the restorative thrill of a vacation without the TSA pat-down. Sign me up! Imagine launching a bright red squishy tomato directly at your friend's head.
Just right in the crossfire.
Exactly. Amid the wild, chaotic cheering of a Spanish street festival. You're laughing, you're dodging these tomatoes, soaking in the absolute energy of La Tomatina.
Right. But now imagine experiencing that entire visceral thrill while sitting in a comfortable armchair in, Ohio.
Which sounds completely wild, I know. But today we're doing a deep dive into a stack of sources that prove your brain actually doesn't know the difference between a grueling international vacation and, well, a vividly engineered daydream.
It's so true. We're looking at some amazing stuff today. But when you look at the research, especially for older adults, where physical barriers are, a very real thing, the thrill of discovery doesn't actually depend on crossing a physical border.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I'll admit, my initial reaction to the whole armchair travel concept was a little skeptical.
Oh, I'm sure. It sounds a bit...
Yeah, I have to push back right out of the gate here. Is this just a sad compromise? A runner-up prize for people who can't physically get on a plane?
I get why you'd think that, but what's fascinating here is that the clinical data points to the exact opposite.
Really? Not a compromise at all.
Not at all. It's a distinct physiological state. In fact, Dr. Melissa Boudin, she's a clinical psychologist in our sources, she coined this specific term for it. She calls it travel-based daydreaming.
Travel-based daydreaming. I like that.
Yeah, and the science of what happens in your brain when you do this is just incredible. When you intentionally immerse your mind in a new environment, your brain actually shifts its frequency.
Wait, shifts its frequency?
Yeah, it begins producing alpha brainwaves.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that. Because, I mean, we throw around terms like brain waves all the time, but what does producing an alpha wave actually do to your body in that moment?
So think of your brain's electrical activity as a spectrum, right? During a normal busy day, you're in a beta state.
Like when I'm frantic about emails or stuck in traffic.
Exactly. Beta is fast, it's alert, and it's heavily tied to stress and anxiety. But alpha waves are slower. They sit right on that bridge between conscious alertness and deep sleep.
So it's like a wakeful relaxation.
Spot on. And when you drop into an alpha state through this travel-based daydreaming, we see a measurable decrease in cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Right. Your heart rate slows down, blood pressure drops, and at the same time, you get this huge spike in creativity and problem solving.
So by just sitting there and focusing my imagination on, say, walking through the Swiss Alps, I'm actively altering my neurochemistry.
You really are.
It's like creating an internal vision board that hits a biological override switch on stress.
That's a great way to put it. And honestly, contrast that with the neurochemistry of actual physical travel.
Oh, don't even get me started. TSA lines.
The flight delays, the lost luggage panic. Being jet-lagged and trying to figure out a foreign subway system, real travel notoriously spikes our cortisol.
True. So armchair travel kind of strips away the anxiety-inducing logistics.
Exactly. You keep the cognitive rewards of discovering the unknown, but you drop the biological tax of all that stress.
You get the alpha waves without the lost baggage panic. That makes total sense to me.
Right. And it completely reframes the whole idea. It's not about making up for declining health. It's about leaning into a totally different kind of exploration.
Yeah, and Dan Marco from the Canyon Ranch Retreat, he brings this up in the sources. He treats this as a soul journey.
I love how he phrases that.
Yeah, he argues that mentally exploring new landscapes is a pilgrimage to the sacred within, which just proves that adventure is a mindset, right? Not just moving your physical body across a map.
It's profoundly empowering, especially for people who feel physically restricted.
Yeah.
It gives them back their agency.
Okay, so I totally get the internal daydreaming part. I understand the alpha waves, but no matter how hard I focus my mind on this soul journey to Paris, my living room still smells like my dog.
Right. Not a French bakery.
Exactly. So how do you bridge that gap? How do you trick the brain into fully buying the illusion if you want that real immersion?
Well, our brains build our reality based on sensory data.
Yeah.
If you want to trick it, you have to feed it the right raw materials. You have to move from internal psychology to external sensory engagement.
Okay, so bringing the outside in.
Exactly.
Ah.
And the most powerful place to start is with taste and smell. Food culture is arguably the ultimate hack for armchair travel.
Because of how our brains are wired, right? I mean, if you've ever caught a whiff of a specific sunscreen and instantly felt like you were 9 years old on a beach in Florida?
Yes. That neurological shortcut has a name. It's the olfactory bulb.
The olfactory bulb, okay.
What's so unique about smell is that it completely bypasses the thalamus. Like when you see or hear something, that data goes to the thalamus first, which acts like a switchboard.
Routing it to the right part of the brain.
Exactly. But smell has a direct, unfiltered line straight to the amygdala, which processes emotion.
Oh, wow.
And the hippocampus, which handles memory.
So a scent doesn't get filtered at all. It just kicks the door down and drops a memory right into the center of your brain.
That's exactly why the sources lean so heavily on culinary exploration. Like if you're exploring Argentina, the guides say you should serve authentic alfajores.
Oh, those crumbly sandwich cookies with the dulce de leche.
Yes, they are amazing. Or if you're visiting Italy, you pour a specific regional wine.
Nice.
One of the best ideas was waking up on a chilly morning and baking fresh croissants and brioche. You let the smell of yeast and butter fill the house to evoke Paris.
Or handing out fortune cookies and mini egg rolls while learning about China. But let me challenge this for a second.
Yeah.
Let's say I bake a croissant, right? I sit down in my favorite chair and I read Les Miserables. Isn't that just, having a snack and reading a book?
That's a fair question.
What actually transforms that mundane afternoon into a genuine cognitive experience of travel?
It all comes down to two intersecting concepts: intention and multisensory pairing.
Intention and multisensory pairing.
Right. If you just mindlessly eat a croissant while scrolling through emails, your brain just registers calories and inbox stress.
The pastry is totally disconnected from what your brain is focusing on.
Exactly. It's like a mixing board in a music studio. If you only push up the taste fader, the track sounds incredibly thin.
Oh, I love that analogy. So to make the track sound rich, you have to push up all the faders simultaneously.
Exactly. So your intention is to explore Paris. You bring in the warm croissant for the olfactory bulb and taste, but then you pair it with auditory input.
Like regional music.
Yes. You put on a playlist of French accordion music. Or if you're traveling to the Caribbean, you play the steel drums of the West Indies.
Or bagpipes for Scotland. Because when you hear a steel drum, you simply do not think of a snowy day in New York. The audio instantly sets a geographical anchor.
Precisely. And then you layer the narrative context on top. You're reading Les Miserables, or maybe watching a million French.
So you're forcing your brain to synthesize all these congruent data points at once.
Yes. The smell of butter, the taste, the accordion, the visuals of Montmartre. The brain stops processing it as eating a snack in Ohio and starts processing it as a holistic, immersive experience of French culture.
You're essentially building a 3D model in your mind, and every sense you add sharpens the resolution. It totally redefines reading a book.
It really does. And this active synthesis, forcing the brain to piece together sensory clues, is incredibly protective for cognitive health, especially for seniors.
Because it demands focus and curiosity.
Right. It is the absolute opposite of passive consumption.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most wildly entertaining part of the sources. Because as fun as a book and a pastry sounds, care communities are taking this mixing board analogy and just pushing every single fader up to 11.
Oh, absolutely. The introduction of group dynamics takes this to an entirely different echelon.
Here's what it gets really interesting. It's like a 4D movie theater experience built right into your living room. We have to talk about what all seniors care did.
Oh, the Spain trip.
Yes, they decided to take their residents on a trip to Spain. But they didn't just put on a documentary about Barcelona, they hosted their own fully interactive version of La Tomatina.
Spain's legendary tomato-throwing festival. It's brilliant.
And they adapted it so cleverly, they used bright red, soft bean bags for the tomatoes, and the residents got to catapult these bean bags at targets.
And the targets were pictures of the facility's management staff.
I mean, imagine the sheer joy and the noise in that room. Just laughter, cheering, throwing things at pictures of the bosses.
The psychological brilliance of that cannot be overstated.
They paired all this chaotic physical play with Spanish wine and sangria tastings. They did a themed morning stretch called the Spanish Flea, and then they all watched fried green tomatoes to wind down.
See, by adding that physical action, gripping the beanbag, aiming, throwing, they engaged the motor cortex.
And that changes how we remember it.
Completely. The motor cortex is deeply tied to how we encode memories. When physical movement pairs with an emotional peak like uncontrollable laughter, the brain cements the experience. It wasn't passive. It was an active, shared celebration.
They're essentially hacking the brain's reward system, and the anticipation is huge too. The guides talk about making personalized interactive props.
Look at passports.
Yeah, they hand out custom passports, and the travelers get a physical stamp for every country they visit.
It grounds the abstract concept into a physical object they can hold on to.
They even fill out personalized postcards to mail to their families. So suddenly, Grandma isn't just saying she watched TV, she's sending a postcard from Spain explaining how she nailed the facility director in the nose with a beanbag.
It creates a totally new narrative for the family dynamic. And, integrating the motor cortex doesn't stop at beanbags either.
Right, the pedal bikes.
Yes. Forward-thinking facilities are having residents pedal on stationary bikes, while a large screen shows a first-person video of a cycling route through the Dutch countryside.
Or along the coast of California. It disguises the exercise so well.
It really does. You're getting alpha brainwaves from the mental escape, sensory stimulation from the environment, and a massive hit of endorphins from pedaling, all at once.
Which naturally leads us to the bleeding edge of all this digital exploration. Because technology is making this illusion almost indistinguishable from reality.
The digital tools we're seeing now are staggering. We're so far beyond the standard travelogue.
The sources specifically point to virtual reality headsets, like the Apple Vision Pro. And this isn't a gimmick. When you look around the Taj Mahal in VR, the tech is actually manipulating your biology.
It is. Human spatial awareness relies on the vestibular system, that fluid in your inner ear that dictates balance syncing up with your visual cortex.
Which is why people used to get motion sickness from shaky videos, right?
Exactly. Your eyes saw movement, but your inner ear felt stationary. But modern spatial computing tracks your microscopic head movements with zero latency.
So when you look up at the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, the digital environment maps perfectly.
Your inner ear and your eyes completely agree with each other. And when that happens, your brain just stops fighting the illusion. You become a participant, not a viewer.
But the sources also note that full VR can be overwhelming for some people, which brings up this fascinating counter-trend.
The silent walking videos.
Yes. There's a massive surge on YouTube for these. Channels like RoamWise post these sprawling 2-hour high-def videos where someone just walks through Venice or Tokyo at a normal human pace.
And the defining characteristic is the total absence of production.
No host talking to the camera, no sweeping cinematic score.
Just the ambient, raw audio of the city. You hear footsteps on cobblestones, the murmur of crowds outside a cafe, the clinking of espresso cups.
A distant police siren. It's so grounding because it mimics the uncurated reality of travel. You're just absorbing the atmosphere at your own pace without having to learn facts or follow a plot.
It's pure atmosphere. And the official travel industry is catching on too. The Tourism Authority of Thailand is sponsoring online interactive experiences specifically for people who can't physically visit.
It's a profound shift in accessibility. You can sit in your kitchen, log into a live class with a chef in Bangkok, and learn to make pad see ew in real time.
Or take a modified Muay Thai lesson from your living room.
Yeah.
The world is actively reaching out.
But as we comb through all these tools, the VR, the cooking classes, the beanbag festivals, the sources highlight one recurring theme that really stands above the rest.
Emotional impact.
Yes. The true power of armchair travel isn't the technology, it's the profound emotional impact it has when done in a community.
Lifestyle coordinators note that these sessions frequently trigger deep, spontaneous reminiscence therapy. When you unlock a sensory memory, you open an emotional floodgate.
Like the story about Pierre in the TRICARE source.
Oh, Pierre's story is the emotional anchor of this whole concept.
He was in a group travel session exploring South Africa, right?
Yeah, and he had lived there earlier in his life. The sensory cues, the music, the visuals, it just brought it all back, and he was completely overcome.
Moved to tears. And he didn't just sit quietly. The environment made him feel safe enough to open up and share these incredibly vivid personal memories with the room.
And the ripple effect of that vulnerability is what truly matters. His emotional resonance affected everyone else. They weren't just learning trivia anymore. They were bearing witness to a man's life story.
It stops being a travelogue and becomes a platform for human connection. It gives people who often feel invisible a stage to be truly seen.
It forces us to reevaluate how we view aging. Society frames later life around loss of mobility, a shrinking physical world. But this proves the capacity for awe and connection doesn't diminish just because the body slows down.
Armchair travel is just the vehicle that brings those qualities to the surface. It replaces isolation with shared adventure. The physical world might shrink, but the internal world expands exponentially.
And that's the ultimate takeaway. That jolt of discovery, the sudden shift in perspective, it is entirely accessible to everyone. The barriers to entry are gone.
So, to bring this all together, whether you're listening to this because you're planning activities for an aging loved one, or maybe you're just burned out and desperate for an escape, armchair travel is this joyful, powerful tool.
It's not a placeholder for a real vacation. It's an active, vital practice of curiosity.
So we want to turn this directly over to you listening right now. Look around your space. How could a simple cup of smoky lapsang souchong tea paired with a YouTube walking tour of neon-lit Tokyo and the sound of rain hitting pavement transport you across the globe tonight? You don't need a boarding pass, you just need intention.
And I'll leave you with this final thought to mull over. We've talked about how adventure is stepping into the unknown and shifting your perspective. But if adventure is truly a mindset, perhaps the ultimate, most vast uncharted territory isn't a foreign country at all. Maybe the greatest exploration is discovering just how limitless and untamed your own imagination is, waiting patiently to be unlocked from the exact chair you are sitting in right now.
A pilgrimage to the sacred within, while throwing a few beanbag tomatoes along the way. Stay curious, everyone.